Last week, Cash Patel was confirmed to be our new FBI director, and now it looks like he will also be taking over the role as the chief of the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and may just shut that worthless agency down altogether. And then last night, Donald Trump dropped a bombshell announcing that former Secret Service agent and major podcaster Dan Bongino will be the deputy director, the second in command of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. A man who is also a fan of Little Brian Stelter. This is Bongino after he played a clip of one of my infamous voiceovers of Tater.
Major hat tip to Mark Dice. You saw his Twitter handle at Mark Dice, like rolling dice, Mark with a K, at Mark Dice. Follow him. He does videos like that, of course, is a parody. Those are his words, Stelter's words. Don't get me wrong. But that, of course, is not Costanza's voice. Tell me, Joe, when you saw that, you didn't laugh, right?
Donald Trump also just fired the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Charles Q. Brown, a DEI hire whose primary mission wasn't to keep the United States safe. It was to get more DEI hires on board and promote DEI hires into positions of power where they aren't qualified to be.
One of the goals here is actually how do we get more African Americans in position of leadership, in positions of aviation, and that's one of the challenges. And I'll tell you,
it's a challenge, all right, because not many of them are qualified. Because when the core of a certain ethnic group's culture revolves around garbage like this, then obviously they're going to have a lot of problems living in modern society.
I get to do what I do, baby. I'm focused, won't fall off like you. They get the love in the crew. I get the money and flip it and make time.
This is the rapper who goes by the name of Dank DeMoss, who is suing Uber or Lyft, one of the rideshare services, because she couldn't fit in the car. The driver was afraid to try to squeeze her in, and so she's suing them for discrimination now. The same woman who appeared on The Breakfast Club, a rap and hip-hop morning show, who had a hard time sitting at the table in a normal chair and had to, just wait for it.
This the only seat y'all got?
What you want? What you need?
There's one more. A bigger chair or something.
A forklift or something. You need a forklift.
Is she already little?
They literally had to pull up a sofa to the table for her to sit on. And speaking of DEI hires getting fired, in case you missed yesterday's video or haven't heard the news, you definitely do need to know that joyless Reid had her show on MSNBC canceled. But it wasn't just because she spewed anti-whiteism with every breath. The network came to realize that she also is a complete moron.
These two men are both elderly. Donald Trump is an elderly man who, for whatever reason, was given 9 seconds to take a iconic photo op during an active shooter situation. Weird situation. We'll figure that out one day.
She's talking about when he stood up and said, fight, 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 calling that just a photo op.
But his survival of that and bouncing right back and going right to his convention is being conveyed in the media world as a sign of strength.
Just in the media world, it's just a synthetic propaganda campaign to portray Donald Trump as brave. I mean, what's next? Is she going to compare Donald Trump surviving an assassination attempt by just a few millimeters to old Joe surviving COVID despite being quadruple vaxxed? Oh, wait, what's this?
This current president of the United States is 81 years old.
This was obviously during the campaign.
And has COVID. Should he be fine in a couple of days? Doesn't that convey exactly the same thing? That he's strong enough, older than Trump, to have gotten something that used to really be fatal to people his age. So if he does fine out of it and comes back and is able to do...
Even Jen Psaki's like, this woman's crazy.
Isn't that exactly the same?
I
mean, it's not exactly the same. It's not the same incident, but it's an elderly man coming through out of an illness.
It should.
This might be the dumbest comparison any political commentator has ever made in the history of television. Even Mark Zuckerberg couldn't help but admit the obvious. What anybody with a brain thought after seeing Donald Trump triumphant after that attempt.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
But
what else is badass is Doge sending out an email to all federal employees telling them that they have to respond with at least 5 bullet points describing what it is that they did last week or else they will be fired.
What would you say you do here?
Now, there is some pushback even from our own side against this. Cash Patel reportedly sent out an email telling people in the FBI to kind of disregard that. So did Tulsi Gabbard, the new head of the Director of Intelligence. But just the idea is fantastic, and it has sent shivers down the spine of the Democrats. At this point, they don't even know what to do to combat the Doge auditors. In fact, there may not be anything that they can do. Here is Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader. This is the most powerful man in the House on the Democrats' side, now that we are the majority.
I'm trying to figure out what leverage we actually have. What leverage do we have? They control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It's their government.
Yeah.
What leverage do we have?
None. Well, Democrats and rhinos and the human hippopotamus, Christie, Krispy Kreme, who suffers from Trump derangement syndrome, along with obvious heart disease.
I want to start with what Elon Musk did on Saturday, which is order all federal employees to list their accomplishments or basically be fired.
Yes.
Can he do that?
No, he can't. Let's look at it a few ways, Martha. First, from a legal perspective, you have a situation where it is a complete overstep for him to be asking people, what did you do in the last week? And then use that as a basis to evaluate whether someone should be retained or fired. As with everybody's employment, things vary from week to week. And I think that if that went to court with an employee who was fired, if Mr. Musk and his minions didn't find what they did in the last week acceptable, there would be very little, if any, legal basis for them to be able to prevail, meaning the government.
Krispy Kreme just basically admitted what is common knowledge, that many, if not most, federal employees go weeks without doing anything. And of course, many of the cuts that Doge is making and will continue to make is being called racist. Because as NBC News reports, much of the black middle class was built by federal jobs, meaning DEI hires. That may change. So Democrat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, the ratchet garden tool, is now deciding to side with foreign countries.
The fact that I'm rooting for Canada and I'm rooting for Mexico a lot is really wild. But they are really the ones that are speaking truth to power right now. They can see what it is, and they were like, we are not messing with this crazy regime from Mar-a-Lago, and basically calling them thugs. That's what it is. But I'm like, y'all knew who he was when y'all elected him. So don't act surprised.
Actually, I am surprised at the Trump 2.0 administration. Pleasantly surprised, because it's going better than I could have ever imagined. But I can't think of a clever segue into plugging my merch this time. But if you have an idea of what I should have said, leave a comment down in the comments below. And then head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and order yourself a Fight, Fight, Fight shirt, a Liberal Tears mug, a classic Liberalism Find a Care shirt, or any of my awesome designs, all available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and a whole bunch of different colors as well. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.